you know, when you talk about housing, when you talk about stability,
I'm sorry, you want to get that?
that impacts an individual, a child, but anyone's ability to run on showing over and over your head at night. That creates the overwhelming stress that you know be darn near impossible to overcome. And that's why we've got to create more affordable housing across the state, where we don't have people in and out of different places where they're living, that there's real opportunity for people to make a home somewhere so that they can, you know, do their job or do their studies and do the day-to-day things that a lot of people take for granted who aren't always worried about housing. So I think that that's a piece of it. But you know, when I think about the Pontiac schools and the challenges, it goes to the same kind of questions that this gentleman asked about investing in education and paths to skills that people can get into better paying jobs. I love Pontiac.
I'm Vicki Dobbins, and I'm from River Rouge. I am in the highest polluted area in Michigan. We are devastated by Marathon, Great Lakes Steel, Cement Solvay, AK Steel, you name it. We have all kinds of pollutants in our area that affect our children, our senior citizens, and anybody in that area. Now, we had a couple of power plants to close up in that area. If I'm not mistaken, the president just changed or reversed that. What would you do to reverse what you just reversed? Because too many people are devastated in that area. And so, in terms of environmental justice, we need more help. We need people at the top who are looking and really enforcing some policies that will change how the corporations pollute us.
Well, we need leaders who care about people. We need leaders who are going to take on the tough fights and on behalf of the little guy in this state. We haven't had someone in our corner in a long time. And when I think about who the Republican nominee is likely going to be, it's someone who's made a living taking up for corporate Michigan at the expense of the little guy. It's downright scary. This is a guy who took on the EPA for overseeing the quality of our Great Lakes. This is a guy who, championed the bill that keeps us, when we're hurt from a pharmaceutical, from suing the company that made that pharmaceutical. We're the only state in the nation where our people are treated like second-class citizens and can't sue a pharmaceutical company that hurts us. Every other state, you can do that, but we can't because of the work that our Attorney General did. And so when I think about real environmental justice, you don't have to look beyond the city of Flint and what happened there to know that that's a pervasive problem in our state, across our country for that matter, but truly in this state, and the governor's own commission included that. So we need to not just win this governor's race, we got to win the Attorney General's race and the Secretary of State's race. As Democrats, we got to run the tables in 2018. I'm going to need an Attorney General who's going to back us up. I'm going to need a Secretary of State who's going to level the barriers to voting for people. And then we got to push through an agenda that really is focused on protecting the residents of this state. We haven't had that in a long time. But that's the short game. The long game is redistricting. The long game is taking away gerrymandering away from the legislature and having us get them to. Yes. So I have a question. A couple of these
what would you do about the emergency manager launch in the state and how it affects people of
I'll
color?
repeat it.
And how it affects people of color cities and most predominantly people of color cities in the state?
Okay. So the question's about the emergency management law and what are we gonna do about it? So I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about what the work that I tried to do when I was in the legislature. I was the leader of the Senate Democrats when I was in the legislature. In a sea of Republicans, it meant that I was the top Democratic voice in the legislature on behalf of everyone in the state. And I fought the Republicans when they passed the Emergency Management Act, but of course they control everything and it passed. I, like the rest of the people of the state, voted against it when it was before us on our ballot. And what did the Republicans do? What they always do when they can't win by the rules, they change the rules. So they ran it again and they used a gimmick by putting some money into the bill, making it an appropriations bill that we didn't have to write a referendum on, and that's how they did it. Now, the other piece of that is that it's applied in communities of color. But, you know, there's no question about it. And in school districts and in cities, and Flint is the most egregious example. But what it's going to take is legislation to undo the Emergency Management Act. Now, I will tell you, as governor, I will never utilize that emergency management provision the way that this governor has. But I don't want the following governor to be able to, and that's why we got to pursue a legislative fix and get it to my desk. And I will sign it into law as soon as it gets there. But that requires us winning the House and winning the Senate, or figuring out how to negotiate to get it to the desk in exchange for something else. But that's something I'm committed to. I hear other people say, I'm going to undo it on day one. Well, I know you're smarter than that, and I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to do something I can't do. But here's what I'm committed to do. As governor, I will never utilize it the way that these guys did, and I will work to make the statutory change that we need.
So when did you apply?
Any emergency, I think there are, you know, I can't imagine a situation where it would, but the fact of the matter is we always had emergency management law on the books. It's that the governor and the Republicans went in and made it the EM law on steroids so they could, you know, undermine everything that a democratically elected local official had entered into on behalf of the community. So I can't imagine that there'd be a time that I'd want to use and that kind of a tool, but you know, I suppose it is. I don't know. I don't know. I just know that there's. Yeah. Okay.
Get rid of it.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, what if there's a national emergency in one of our communities and we need to go in and take over and, you know, fix something? I don't know. There must be a situation. All right. Sorry.
That's fine. I guess right now, like the climate that you can tell across the country, you see a bigger and a higher concern for money versus the social or, you know, anything like that. So the people that voted for Trump were a lot of white males, you know, dominantly. You know, was their main concern. Well, white women too, but I mean, the whole climate really is about money and economics. So my thing is, you know, when you look at the other states like Texas, Arizona, some of the Republican states are doing better with jobs, you know, actually creating more jobs. So like far as Michigan, like how can we, you know, do that same type of infrastructure without increasing the taxes? I think that's a lot of a major concern, because if you earn, just say in Texas, if you make $60,000, you can probably have a good living because the state is not going to take a lot of your money.
They don't have a sales tax.
They don't have a sales tax and a state tax or whatever, but I mean, the living standard in Texas is a little bit better because they don't have as many taxes as some of the Democratic states do. So I think like moving forward, what could be some of the strategies where we can provide certain services, but we have the means to pay for them as well?
Well, let's talk about what Rick Snyder and the Republicans have done in terms of our state budget, the investments that we make, and who pays the taxes, all right? The governor's very first budget he introduced gave a huge business tax break, and he paid for it by what? He cut our schools, he taxed pensions, and he tried to get rid of the earned income tax credit for the working poor. All right? So it's a massive tax shift that the Republicans put onto the average person in our state. And then they decided that they were going to continue this by continuous customer schools. So that creates an even bigger burden on us and pulls dollars out. I will never forget when a superintendent in Michigan wrote to Governor Snyder and said, please declare my school district a prison. Now you know why he did that, right? Because we pay $40,000 a year to incarcerate someone, and we spend $9,000 a year to educate a child. So it was a sarcastic thing, making the point that how screwed up our values are in this state. It's this, but the Republicans have made a greater tax burden on the individual in this state, and business has largely gotten a free pass. So I think they should be paying their fair share, and we should be investing in our people, in our education. We all have a vested interest in making sure that we've got the skills here in Michigan. I talk to so many business people. They talk about the fact that they can't recruit people into Michigan because they don't have a good answer for why we don't have transit, why we don't have great public schools, why we don't have a more skilled workforce. And yet, it's because they're not making that those investments are coming into the things that elevate people, that lift people up and give them opportunity.
So like, what is one of the strategies to get more businesses here to look at Michigan as a place to invest?
Well, I think we have to aggressively recruit, but when you look at the prospect of Amazon coming to Michigan with a lot of jobs, good paying jobs, what are the things that they're asking? The questions they're asking: is there public transit?
Right.
What's the state of the public school system? You know, do you have the people to do the jobs I need? Do they have the skills? And until you can answer those three questions, it's very difficult to lure investment into the state. So it's kind of that circular problem that these years of disinvestment and shifts have created a much bigger price that we're all paying for that. And that's why it's got to start with investing in our people again. That concentration of talent and opportunity here.
Gretchen.
I'm Helena Scott, and we're struggling nationally and locally with race relations in this country. What are your thoughts on the director of the Michigan State Council and the comments that she made on Facebook? And what will you do to help amend race relations in this state?
Okay, so first and foremost, I thought that the comments were repugnant and ignorant. And I would never stand for someone in my administration conducting themselves that way. Especially someone who is given a badge and a gun and the heightened responsibility of protecting every person of every walk of life in this state. Second, how do we start to amend race relations? I think we elect leaders who really are committed to creating opportunity for everyone in the state, and recognizing the inherent value that everyone is important, that everyone deserves a voice in the process that's happening, that we all live by every single day. That when I'm governor, I will make sure that my cabinet is reflective of the great diversity of the state. That every appointee that is reflective. That the commission appointments, that the judicial appointments, that we make not just a commitment to lip service, but that the actions follow the show. What is so great about the state are the people that live in it, and our government should reflect that. That's what led to Flint. I know you've seen the pictures of all the people that make decisions about what's going on in Flint. And you know there's no one from Flint there. And there's no even woman sitting around that table, and there's certainly no woman of color or any person of color sitting around that table either. And it's dangerous not to have every voice actually represented at the table.
To a point, what really is important to me, we asked America that you gotta have qualifications, you have to have master's degree. I find out this lady has an associate bachelor's degree from a community college. I also found out she has no operational experience. Then I also found out that she's double dipping. She's getting $155,000 from the state of Michigan in her pension. So when you become the governor of this great state, what would you do when you ask us as colored people, black people, and other people of color, and people that we have to have the qualifications? What would be your standards?
In terms of what?
Qualifications, education for those kind of positions that are in the state of Michigan.
Well, you know what, I think that first and foremost, we gotta hire people who know what the heck they're doing,
Yes.
right? People who are qualified, who have expertise. Right now, we've got some cabinet members, it's not unlike Trump's cabinet, frankly, where it's about who you know as opposed to what you know, or what you've earned, or what your expertise is in. I think that there are people of every walk of life with great potential and expertise that can contribute to a cabinet, or as an appointee, or as a commission member, of course that's a huge part of what we would require in any appointee. But ultimately, that is a diverse group of people too. That's important too. I know you're trying to get my attention, sorry, and then.
Ladies first.
Okay, all right.
Hello, my name is Ross, and I'm the East Wing Director of and I'm also part of the East Wing My question is, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Michigan is number 2 in sex trafficking trade, otherwise it is number 1. But being our governor, what did you do to address that? Because we had an incident on Facebook this last week, and it was only less than a half mile away from our address. So it is knocking at our door. It's called it's called 48227. So this is real. It's no longer moving. So what do you do?
I think that there are a lot of things that we need to do as a state. You know, I know that the drug epidemic is a contributing factor. Lack of opportunity is a contributing factor. Poverty plays into it as well. That when we give kids real opportunity in school and after school, and a real path to opportunity, I think you help. But
wait a minute, this situation, this child was abducted and brought to this house. So her mother, when we saw it on Facebook, her mother was driving down the street screaming her name because she was abducted. She was on her way to school. See, so we have predators now. So if you're not aware, this is a good thing to be able to try to come with a strategic plan.
Yeah.
Because our children are being targeted and preyed on.
So besides for, you know, employing more people to protect us, right, in police service, what are your suggestions to make, if you have some?
Well, I think we should have more conversation about it.
Yeah.
Because like we say, we watch it on TV, but it didn't seem as real till we saw it last week on Facebook, that it was literally in our zip code.
Yeah, what is it that's unique about Michigan that makes us so high?
African American people. It's not just the sex trade, it's not just the drugs, it's your organs. So it's labor, it's organs, it's sex, and it's drugs. So we're missing the boat when it comes to the organ piece. When you see all the data when it says so many African Americans are missing and they're not final, it's because they're taking you for your body parts. Your kidneys are worth $20,000. So you have to really understand the economics. When you start taking away drugs, they start making marijuana legal. The cartel has to make money some different way. So that's one of
So there needs to be a conversation about what's really going on. Right. That to me needs to be the first one.
I just want to piggyback and say, I also substitute teach. And I think it's a disgrace to see the young girls that have to be in school at 7:05 a.m. for what? And they have to walk to school by themselves in the morning, okay? So I just want to piggyback on what you're saying. That it's easy for a young girl to be abducted because she got to go to school in the dark.
In the dark.
I don't do anything in the dark.
And in Detroit, I think we're only at 1,400 police officers, and we should be at almost 5,000 police.
Right.
Wow. Well, so let's talk about part of the reason that they've got all these unfilled positions, right? Because we're not compensating people who dedicate their lives to protecting people.
Exactly.
And that's a big part of it. It's like the education problem that we have. We've got a huge crisis looming in education. It's the teacher shortage. Fewer and fewer people are going into teaching because you can't make a living at it. Well, I was talking to a woman in Alpena. She's got one child. She qualifies for the bridge card. She's she's a full-time teacher, qualifies for the bridge card.
Oh yeah, county by county, it's a different schematic when you
And
go
that's
county
a
by
part
county.
of the long, you know, the
It is that she
strategic
doesn't make
long-term
enough
plan that they've done to undermine
Working
education,
full
what it's
time.
hurting on, when we're talking about, you know,
Hold on
police
one
and fire and public safety officers too. Yeah.
Jason.
I'm gonna piggyback on her questions. I just did a platform for human trafficking at a church last week. One thing, the state is not, they don't have a task force for that. The FBI has a task force, but in the state house, we don't have a part of that taxation in Health and Human Services that goes to that. And now they made it where social workers, master social workers have to take so many credit hours a year now for human trafficking. But now it's in balance. So how do we pay for that? But how do we get the right people to train and to start for education in our community? Because this is not something new. I think this has just got to the time where we actually see it because of social media.
Right.
So it's one of those measurement tools that we have to actually have some type of tax carved out for that to eradicate quick. And since you're a prosecutor, you know that we can just throw some books at some people and they'll say, "Oh, I don't want to be a part of that." You get where I'm coming from? Do that the same way you did cocaine and crack. Well, crack in our community, we do cocaine like that. With crack. So that's the kind of thing that we need to do. So somebody can say, well, somebody does love black people. Because if you look at history, I can say, you can tell me today that you love me. And I can say, if we look at making a data-driven decision, I can say, no, you don't. Because of what has happened to us in the past. Now, that's to piggyback on her question, because I'm in that circle, in that realm. So the question that I had was, from my understanding, in 2018 for the state, it's not those employees won't be unionized employees anymore after 2018.
Oh, yeah.
Now I believe now I think a lot of people don't understand what the union has done. The union has brought the 7-day work week, 5-day work week. They have helped us with health care. They have helped us with safety on the job. So there's so many things that if you don't have a union, that these hierarchies that you just that's in our community now with businesses, we're going backwards. We're going backwards because all I care about is profit. Work that person, if they don't work out good, we're right to work, they get rid of them. Make people have to starve and do the things they don't want to do to keep a job. We can't do that. We've come too far as human beings, not just people of color, but as human beings. Because now we're getting separated from rich and the poor. Now, there's a lot of white people that are poor too. So let's look at the balance. So I want to know, what are you going to do when it says, this is the right to work state. Where's our protection? To move us to the places that you want to move us to. You want to have great education? We can't be a right to work state in order, because that's a trickle-down effect. Because how can I hold my child at home if I'm not being educated at work and I'm on pins and needles at work, because I have no protection. That's the energy that you have in your environment for your kids. So we can't be successful that way. So this really is about our state, our community, our country being successful. And when you're the governor, it's going to start with you.
That's right. So I recognize, I share everything that you said about unions and why they're important and why we've all benefited from them. I've been a member of a union, I worked for the unions, and as a legislator, I fought on behalf of union and working people in this state. And I'm proud of that. And I think one of the biggest challenges going into that governor's office is going to be trying to get people to come and work for the state. The havoc that Rick Snyder and Bill Schuette have wreaked on our state is going to be massive. There are a lot of people who work right now for the state that they're demoralized. They're worried. We've got a governor who's doing this on Flint, and an attorney general who's going after and charging state workers. And I'm not saying that there's not fault to be had on what happened in Flint, but our day-to-day existence depends on having good people in those jobs. And then the attacks on the public sector working, on that public sector unions that just came through the Civil Service Commission is going to have another massive impact. And that's why this election is going to be that much more important for the civil servants, for the public sector, but also for people in the private sector. That governor's office has immense power to help people. That comes with a bully pulpit that a governor who wants to use it can use it every damn day to help set an agenda. Can, utilize the state budget to achieve some of the things we want to do. But I'm not gonna stand here like some people might and tell you I can unilaterally fix right to work. That's gonna take legislation, and that's why I talk about playing the short game in 18, the long game about redistricting.
Right.
There's an effort right now where people are collecting signatures for voters, not politicians. If that, we get that on the ballot, someone's here collecting?
Oh, no.
No, we know about it.
I have a friend that I work with on a campaign campaign, and that's what he's going out for. And he brings it to all of my events. I'm surprised he's not here.
But you know, when the legislature picks their constituents instead of the other way around, we get the mess that we've got right now in the state. And that's got to be the long game. Because if our voices really are going to count equally as everyone else in this state, we got to get rid of gerrymandering in Michigan. And that's got to be the long game, and that's ultimately how we get rid of right to work in Michigan.
So it's going to be a conversation during your campaign. That needs to be that actually needs to be something that when you look at the African American population, we're the ones who really are affected by that, right? We really are low people on the totem pole.
Yeah.
So my thing is we will support candidates that tell us we're going to do something. Only a small percentage benefit. Only a small percentage, real very minute benefit. So what's the reason? What's the problem with saying, okay, we have these African Americans in Detroit, we need to sign a contract with these people because this is what our problems these people, and this is what we want to give them.
They might not be qualified.
So I'm talking about the governor signing a contract with the people saying a broader sense and say these are things that we need to bring to them.
Well, the Republicans tried to have a contract once before. The issue we have is deconstruction of government by the Republicans. That's what's going on, y'all. They're tearing it all down.
Okay.
Making all chaos.
And that's right. When I was trying to say my name to keep my title head, and I had worked with city council over 20 years with Virginia, over more years, and I worked with Hillary Clinton campaign. And the one thing I did not like that my campaign manager Ben Carter did was forget about Detroit. And I worked with senior citizens, 135 senior buildings. You need to have an active conversation. I took one to senior buildings. You need to have a conversation. And I want to know if you're going to give a strong team for Detroit. Because I'm willing to work with them, but you need somebody who's going to be dedicated to Detroit, where I can take to the city building and work this campaign. Because the Republicans are not playing around. So we need a strong backbone team who's going to get out there and fight like they fight. And I'm willing to do that.
Amen, and thank you, and I want to work with you on that, because I'm telling you right now, I'm not taking the city of Detroit for granted. I'm not taking Southeast Michigan for granted. I got a lot of work to do here. I'm known in a lot of parts of the state, but I got to get a lot better known here. But I also got to make sure that the platform I'm building fixes the problems that people in the city are dealing with too, and that's a part of why building a presence down here is so important. So we are committed to opening up a campaign office in Detroit before the end of the year and hiring Detroiters to run it.
And then like in Midtown, I have like 7 senior buildings in that area who are worried about their rent going up because they want to get pushed out and make room for more senior, I shouldn't say, Dan Gilbert people to move in. Yeah. So they over there worried about how long they're going to have their apartment. Yeah. Those are Warren Plaza, Robert Holmes, Manor, St. Edwin Gardens, Spencer Meadows, Royce Park, all of them over there. So I'm on the phone constantly with John, trying to find what's going on. And I have an event Friday, doing a big event Friday with some of the people over there for their birthday. So I'm trying to get some of your people over there Friday to come and meet with them.
We'll make sure we get that for you.
Person P is
I got it.
Friday, trying to get our people
Right up. Okay. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Paul McGarry. I'm from Madison Heights. But I own the business down here. And I've been down here almost 2 decades now. And I've kind of watched as we went through the Granholm administration, now the Snyder administration. And looking at how the city has evolved, the thing that's been killing us is that the downtown has changed. And everybody looks out the front door and sees the downtown's gotten better and thinks, wow, Detroit's really doing well. But when you drive out into the neighborhoods, when you drive out anywhere outside of the downtown, midtown area, there's just tremendous problems. And when I look back at the last gubernatorial election with Mark Schauer, his turnout in the city of Detroit was lower than Verge Burnell's. 4 years into the Steiner administration, where we were in the middle of bankruptcy, we were facing down, we had an EM problem, the turnout went down. And I think that maybe that's been a failure by the state Democratic Party to sell a vision of what Detroit should look like in 4 years and 8 years. And people will turn out if you're telling them that you have a vision, even if it's not perfect, even if it's a flawed vision that's going to take some work, it's going to take a legislature to work with you. But if the only thing that you're asking people is to turn out because the other guy is going to do bad things, well, I mean, a lot of the neighborhoods in Detroit, you can't get much worse. There's boarded up houses, there's houses with blue tarps over the roofs, you know? So tell me, say that you get 8 years. Tell me what your vision for Detroit is 8 years down the line, where you've had a legislature, you've had 2 successful terms. Tell me what the neighborhoods look like and how we get there.
All right, are you giving me the whole legislature too?
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Let's dream big.
Right. Yeah.
My man.
All right, I love it. I love it, and I love that thought, and that's exactly what we're working toward. I envision a Michigan where every 4th grader can read. I envision a Michigan where we have create 30,000 new small businesses across the state. I envision a Detroit where there are grocery stores across the city across the city that are accessible for people. And I envision a state that has the greatest skilled workforce again. There was a point where we can again, but it's going to take real paths for people. Free community college for everyone who wants to pursue that. Apprenticeships for people to get into the skilled trades and make a great living in the trades. Or a program out of the state that funds the first 2 years of your 4-year degree, so that we really can make a meaningful path for everyone to pursue what they like and to be able to make a good living here in Michigan.
I think there's a reasonable number of empty schools in the city that we could use for vocational programs.
Yeah,
we could probably find a couple here and there.
Right. I only got these last 2, I'm sorry. Yeah, Detroit's not gonna let you have those bills. Okay, so, they'll let them sit there and rock before they get them to you. So we're gonna take the last 2 questions. This young lady and this gentleman right here. And then we'll wrap this up. So,
Share.
okay, hold on. Let me get through with these 2 questions. Okay.
So my question is, as you're developing your platform, what policies are you thinking about for seniors as the city